My job was to ride on the combine back where the oats were coming out of this chute and going into the burlap bag. I had to toss out the rocks and the frogs and the snakes and anything else that came in there that didn't belong in there. And when it finally got full, I had to take that burlap bag and shake it down like that and then tie it. And my dad taught, I couldn't do it now if my life depended on it, but my father showed me how to tie those burlap feed sacks with a little piece of string about that long. There's a certain way that you put your hand around it. You wrap the string around and then you tie it, and it's tied in such a way that it's tight, but also it's tied in such a way that with one pull of the string in the right place, you know, that it will come loose again. And if I was riding that combine and I did not get those bags full, I mean full to over two things that I'd get in trouble for. One was letting any of the oats spill on the ground, and another one was not getting the bag full. They had to be full, so that when you bounce them and you shake them and you tie them up, it is a full bag of oats. And they were pretty heavy at that. That was my job. And it was sort of a high-pressure job for a kid 12, 13 years old. Not to mention the dust flying and all that other stuff happening. But that's the way I relate to this. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and I think of that bag shaking, and running over will be poured into your lap. Into your lap. Now, I wondered about that. And I guess the picture is this. I guess it's a picture of someone in a robe, and somebody's giving out grain. And in order to get the grain, what you do is you kind of hold up your robe and somebody pours it in. And if you've ever, there may be things where you've done that. Maybe you picked berries before and had something and put them in there. Or there's been something that you have gathered up and you put it in your shirt or whatever. And so it says it will be poured into your lap. I'm here to tell you that God has blessed me richly by pouring into my lap. He's enriched you by pouring into your lap. But then here comes the principle of the measures. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now there's all kinds of measures. These are some spoons that I don't know where around and got these. Maybe I got them for her, I don't know. But how many of you, when you cook, actually measure teaspoons and cups and all that stuff you measure? Well, probably most of you. But I bet you've never used these little spoons. This is the smallest one, I think. It is a smidgen. And then the next biggest one is a pinch. That's a pinch. And then this is a dash. So, you know, we define exactly what that is. Of course, this little cup measures in on one side up to 1 cup, and on the other side in milliliters, 250 milliliters. Which, by the way, if you're trying to teach your kids, because in science, you know, I always one of the jobs was to teach kids conversion from standard measurements to the metric system. This is a good way. Or you could take a thermometer too, you know, that's got centigrade on one side and Fahrenheit on the other. Here's a bigger cup. This one goes to 4 cups, which is the same as a liter. I can remember, maybe you can too, when we used to buy soft drinks in 2-quart bottles. You remember that? Think of it, or was it quart bottles? I guess it was quart. And now what are we buying? 2-liter bottles, right? Well, what does it say here? For with the measure you use, your hand and dip it into his reservoir of blessing and pour a smidgen in your lap. If you use a dash, he's going to take it to give to God, or to give to someone else, or to give through him to anyone in regard to your time in your life in any way. If what you're using is a dash, God's going to take it out of your hand and use it to dip into his reservoir of blessing and pour it in your lap. If you use a 2-cup measure to give to God, when it comes time for him to bless you, he's going to take the 2-cup measure out of your hand and pour it into your lap. I wish, again, done my homework here better. I'd gone down to Tractor Supply or somewhere and got a feed scoop, because I remember, one of my jobs on the farm was to feed the cows. And you didn't give the cows all the same amount of feed. For one thing, you didn't want to give cows so much feed that they left some. You don't want to do that. It's a waste of feed. Also, cows that are giving a lot of milk, you give them what they want. And so on. And so the cows each had their own stanchion, and you come along, and my dad had a little cardboard thing up there, and it would tell how many scoops of feed to give them. Some got a whole scoop, some got a half a scoop, some got 2 scoops, and so on. Whatever measure you use, whether it's a smidgen or a dash or a cup, or a shovel. If you use a shovel to give to God, he's going to take it out of your hand, dip it into his reservoir of blessing, and shovel it back into your lap. If you use a dump truck, it's going to be time for God to say, back the truck up. Put it underneath it. I remember not long ago I got some stone. I was doing a little work, and it's kind of stone dust, and I was going to put it underneath some brick that I was putting down. And I took my little S10 pickup down there, and I ordered a 1/4 ton of this stone, and they told me where to park my truck. And this big old front loader guy came up there, and he apparently had like a 1/2 ton bucket on it, and so he filled it half full, which made it a 1/4 ton, and he was, I guess, pretty good about that. And he brought that huge, monstrous loader over there and dumped a 1/4 ton of stone in my little truck, and I felt that little sucker go boom, like that, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it home. I could kind of feel the front tires kind of doing a little floating as I went home. And that thing could put at least a ton, or a 1/2 ton rather, in that scoop. If you use a dump truck to give to God, he'll say, back the truck up, put it under the spout, or the lift, if you will, of his blessing, and fill it up, and dump it back into your lap. The principle of measures. Well, that's it. That's the whole message. I hope you got it. It's time to take the offering. Ushers, would you come, please? If you're not tithing, start now. If you're not giving above the tithe, start now.